The meeting hall on Space Station Olympus 7 was filled with aliens from all across the galaxy. Some had scales, some had fur, and some looked like walking crystals. They were all here for the annual Interspecies Games, where different alien races competed to show their strength and skills. Captain Hyun sat with the other humans at a table near the back. He wore his Earth Diplomatic Corps uniform and tried to stay calm. This was humanity's first year at the Games. Earth had only joined the Galactic Council 6 months ago, and everyone was watching to see what these new humans could do. The Vrexians stood at the front of the hall. They were tall, almost 8 feet high, and their bodies looked like they were made of purple crystal. Light shone through them and made rainbow patterns on the walls. For 300 years, the Vrexians had won every single competition at the Games. They were proud of their strength and speed. Commander Threxal, the leader of the Vrexian team, stepped forward. His voice was deep and loud. He talked about how the Vrexians had won every year, and how no other race could match their power. Then he looked directly at the human table. "And now we have these soft mammals joining us," Threxal said with a laugh. "Look at them. No armor on their skin. No claws, no strength. Why are they even here?" Some of the other aliens laughed. Others stayed quiet and watched to see what would happen. Ambassador Yuna, who sat next to Hyun, put her hand on his arm. "Don't react," she whispered. "We need to stay professional." But Threxal kept talking. "Humans are too weak for our games. They would break like glass. Perhaps they should just watch and learn what real warriors look like." Hyun felt his face get hot. He had spent his whole life training to be a diplomat. He knew how to stay calm, but something about the way Threxal talked made him angry. Humans had worked so hard to reach the stars. They had built spaceships and crossed the galaxy. They deserved respect. Hyun stood up. The room became quiet. "Commander Threxal," Hyun said in a clear voice, "you say we are weak. You say we cannot compete. I challenge you to prove it." Threxal tilted his crystal head. "A challenge? You want to fight me? That would be over in seconds, human." "Not a fight," Hyun said. "A game, a sport from Earth called Dodgeball. If you win, we will admit that humans are not ready for the Games. But if we win, you will show respect to Earth and stop calling us weak." The other aliens started talking to each other. They had never heard of Dodgeball. Threxal looked at the other Vrexians and they all laughed together. "Dodgeball?" Threxal said. "What kind of game is this?" "It's simple," Hyun explained. "Two teams throw balls at each other. If you get hit, you're out. If you catch a ball, the person who threw it is out. Last team standing wins." Threxal laughed even louder. "You want to throw balls? Humans, we are 3 times your strength. We could throw a ball through a metal wall. This will be the easiest victory ever. So you accept?" Hyun asked. "Of course," Threxal said. 3 days from now, we will meet in the arena. Bring your balls. We will show the entire galaxy why humans should have stayed on their little planet." The council arbiter, an old alien named Velmoth, who looked like a floating jellyfish, moved forward. "The challenge is accepted. In 3 days, humans will face Vrexians in this game of dodgeball. The council will watch and judge." Hyun sat back down. His heart was beating fast. Ambassador Yuna stared at him with wide eyes. "What have you done?" she whispered. "We can't beat them. They're right about being stronger." "I know," Hyun said quietly. "But I have a plan." "We have something they don't." "What's that?" Yuna asked. Hyun smiled a little. "Millions of years of evolution. Humans are the best throwers in the galaxy. We just need to prove it." Yuna looked worried, but she nodded. "You have 3 days to put together a team. I hope you know what you're doing." As the meeting ended and aliens left the hall, many of them looked at the humans with curiosity. Some shook their heads, thinking the humans had made a terrible mistake. Others seemed interested to see what would happen. Hyun watched Threxal leave with the other Vrexians. They were still laughing and talking about how easy the match would be. That was good, Hyun thought. Let them underestimate us. That's exactly what I want. Hyun walked through the hallways of Olympus 7 with a tablet in his hand. The tablet showed names and files of every human on the space station. There were 43 people total, and he needed to pick 6 for the team. The problem was that most of them were scientists, engineers, and diplomats. None of them were professional athletes. He stopped at the recreation room and looked inside. A man was throwing darts at a board on the wall. Every single dart hit the center perfectly. Hyun checked his tablet. The man's name was Tae, and he worked as a physicist. "Tae?" Hyun called out. The man turned around. He had friendly eyes and looked surprised to see the captain. Yes, sir. I saw your throwing. That's impressive, Hyun said. Did you play any sports back on Earth? Tae smiled. I played baseball. Semi-professional, actually. But then I got accepted into the space program, so I had to choose. Science won. How would you feel about playing one more game? Hyun asked. For Earth? Tae's eyes lit up. The dodgeball match? I heard about your challenge. Everyone's talking about it. Are you serious about fighting the Vrexians? Very serious, Hyun said. And I need people who can throw accurately. Are you in? Tae didn't even hesitate. Absolutely. When do we start training? Hyun smiled and marked Tae's name on his tablet. 1 down, 5 to go. Next, he went to the pilot's quarters. He found Sora working on her flight simulator. She was practicing flying through an asteroid field, and her hands moved incredibly fast on the controls. Her reflexes were amazing. Sora, I need to ask you something, Hyun said. She paused the simulator and looked at him. If this is about the dodgeball match, I already heard. Count me in. You don't even know what I'm going to ask, Hyun said with a laugh. Captain, you challenged the Vrexians to a throwing game. Every human on this station wants to help. We're tired of being treated like we don't belong here, Sora said. Her voice was strong and determined. Plus, I dodge rocks flying at me at high speed every day. Dodging balls should be easy. Hyun added her name to the list. 2 down. He found Jin in the maintenance area, fixing a broken air filter. Jin was young and always had music playing from his small speaker. When Hyun explained the situation, Jin grinned. I grew up playing street games in Seoul, Jin said. Dodgeball, soccer, whatever we could play in the alleys. I'm not the strongest guy, but I'm fast. Really fast. That's exactly what I need, Hyun said. Welcome to the team. Finding Hana was easy. She was in the medical bay organizing supplies. When Hyun told her about the team, she crossed her arms and raised an eyebrow. Captain, I'm a doctor. I'm supposed to fix injuries, not get them, she said. But she was smiling. I checked your file. You were a volleyball champion in college, Hyun said. You know how to move, how to react, how to work with a team. Hana sighed, but she was already nodding. Fine, but if I get hurt, I'm treating myself. And you're doing all the paperwork. 4 team members now. Hyun needed 2 more. Woo worked in communications. He spent most of his time wearing a headset and talking to different ships. But Hyun had learned something interesting about Woo. He was a competitive gamer back on Earth. He played strategy games at a professional level. Games aren't the same as sports, Woo said when Hyun asked him. But you understand positioning, teamwork, and predicting what your opponent will do. Hyun replied. That's what we need. Woo thought about it for a moment, then nodded. Okay, I'll do it. But I'm going to need time to analyze Vrexian movement patterns. You'll have 3 days, Hyun said. The last person Hyun recruited was Gina. She was a xenobiologist who studied alien life forms. She had just returned from a research trip to a jungle planet and she looked tired but happy. Why me? Gina asked. I study aliens. I don't play sports. You spent 3 months running through jungles, climbing trees and catching samples, Hyun said. You're more athletic than you think. Plus, you understand alien body language better than anyone here. You might see things the rest of us miss, Gina laughed. That's the strangest recruitment speech I've ever heard. But you're right. I'll join. That evening, all 6 team members met in the recreation bay. Ambassador Yuna was there too, watching from the side. She had brought several rubber dodgeballs from Earth supply storage. All right, team, Hyun said. We have 3 days to get ready. The Vrexians think this will be easy. They think their strength will win. But we have advantages they don't understand. Like what? Jin asked. They're way bigger and stronger than us, Tae spoke up. Humans evolved to throw things. Our brains and bodies are designed for it. We can calculate angles, distances, and speeds faster than almost any other species. The Vrexians never had to develop that skill. Exactly, Hyun said. We're not going to beat them with power. We'll beat them with accuracy, speed, and teamwork. Now let's start practicing. They spent the next 2 hours throwing balls, dodging, and learning to work together. At first it was messy. People got hit, dropped catches, and bumped into each other. But slowly they started to improve. As they trained, other aliens walked by the recreation bay and stopped to watch. Some laughed. Others looked confused. None of them seemed to think the humans had any chance of winning. But the human team kept practicing. They had something to prove, not just to the Vrexians, but to the entire galaxy. Ambassador Yuna spent the entire first day in the station's library, reading everything she could find about Vrexians. The library had information about thousands of alien species, including detailed files on their biology, culture, and history. If the human team was going to have any chance, they needed to understand their opponents. She discovered that Vrexians came from a planet with much stronger gravity than Earth. This made them incredibly strong, but it also meant something important. Their bodies were built for power, not flexibility. Their crystal structure was rigid. They could hit hard, but they couldn't bend and move like humans could. Yuna also learned that Vrexian reaction time was slower than human reaction time, not by much but enough to matter. Their brain processing worked differently. They were excellent at planning attacks and overwhelming enemies with force, but they weren't as good at split-second decisions. She took her notes to the recreation bay, where the team was practicing. Sweat dripped from their faces. They had been training for hours. "I have information," Yuna announced. "The Vrexians are strong, but they have weaknesses." Everyone stopped and gathered around her. She pulled up images on her tablet showing Vrexian anatomy. "Look at their joints," she said. "They're crystalline structures. They don't bend as much as human joints. They can't twist their bodies the way we can, and their reaction time is slightly slower than ours." Tay nodded, understanding immediately. "So if we throw balls that curve or change direction, they'll have trouble adjusting." "Exactly," Yuna said. "And there's more. They come from a high-gravity planet. Here on the station we use standard gravity, which is based on Earth normal. That means they're heavier and slower than they would be on their homeworld." Sora grinned. "So we're faster than them here. We can move around more easily." "That's the idea," Yuna said. "But don't underestimate them. They're still much stronger. One good hit from a Vrexian throw could seriously hurt someone." Meanwhile, in another part of the station, the Vrexians were training in their special gravity chamber. They had increased the gravity to match their home planet. The 6 Vrexian warriors moved in perfect formation, practicing throws and catches. Commander Threxal watched his team with satisfaction. They were the best warriors in the galaxy. This dodgeball game would be over in minutes. "The humans didn't stand a chance. Should we study human physiology?" one of his warriors asked. "To understand our opponents better." Threxal waved his hand dismissively. "There's nothing to study. They're weak. They're slow. They have no natural armor. We will crush them easily and remind the galaxy why Vrexians are supreme." The other Vrexians agreed. They had fought in real battles. They had conquered enemies across the stars. A simple game with rubber balls was beneath them. They were only doing this to teach the humans a lesson about respecting their superiors. Back in the recreation bay, the human team continued training. Tay was teaching everyone about the physics of throwing. He explained how to put spin on a ball to make it curve. He showed them how to calculate the best angles for different throws. "Humans have a special advantage," Tay said. "Look at our shoulders. They're incredibly flexible. We can throw from dozens of different angles. We can throw sidearm, overhand, underhand. We can fake one direction and throw another. Most aliens can't do this." Jin was practicing speed drills. He set up targets around the room and tried to hit them as fast as possible. His throws weren't as powerful as Tay's, but they were quick and accurate. Wu sat in the corner with his tablet, watching videos of Vrexian combat footage. He was trying to understand how they moved, how they thought, how they attacked. He took notes on patterns and weaknesses. "They always attack straight ahead," Wu said. "They don't use tricks or deception. They believe in direct overwhelming force." "That's good for us," Yun said. "We'll use misdirection. We'll make them think we're going one way, then go another." Hana was working with Sora on dodging techniques. They threw balls at each other and practiced diving, rolling, and jumping out of the way. Both of them were athletic and learned quickly. Gina watched everything with careful eyes. She had studied alien species for years and knew how to read body language. She noticed that Vrexians always shifted their weight before throwing. It was a small movement, but it was predictable. "I can tell when they're about to throw," Gina said. "Their crystal structure reflects light differently when they move. If I watch carefully, I can give us a warning." On the second day of training, word spread throughout the station about the upcoming match. Aliens from different species started placing bets. Almost everyone bet on the Vrexians. The odds were 100 to 1 against the humans. Some aliens came to watch the human team practice. They were curious about this strange Earth game. They saw the humans running, jumping, throwing, and catching. Some of the aliens laughed. Others seemed intrigued. "Look how they move," one alien said. "They're so flexible." "It won't matter," another replied. "The Vrexians will destroy them in the first minute." The human team heard the comments but didn't let them break their focus. They knew what everyone thought. They knew everyone expected them to lose. That just made them train harder. On the third day, Hyun gathered the team for a final meeting. They were tired from training, but their eyes were determined. "Tomorrow is the match," Hyun said. "Everyone in the galaxy will be watching. They think we're going to fail. They think we're too weak to compete, but we know the truth. We know what humans can do. We're not as strong as them," Tae said, "but we're smarter. We're faster. We're more adaptable. And we work together," Hana added. "That's what makes us human." The team put their hands together in the center of their circle. They had trained hard. They had learned the Vrexians' weaknesses. They had developed strategies and practiced until their muscles ached. Now it was time to show the galaxy what humans could do. The arena was packed with aliens. Every seat was filled. Representatives from 47 different species had come to watch. The arena itself was a large circular room with a flat floor in the center and seats rising up on all sides. Bright lights shone down from the ceiling, and large screens on the walls would show close-up views of the action. The human team walked out first. They wore simple athletic clothes in blue and white, Earth's colors. The crowd made mixed noises. Some aliens clapped politely. Others stayed silent. A few even booed. Then the Vrexians entered. They wore armor made of dark metal that matched their purple crystal bodies. They looked like warriors heading into battle, not athletes playing a game. The crowd erupted in cheers. The Vrexians were champions, and everyone expected them to win easily. Council Arbiter Velmoth floated to the center of the arena. His jellyfish-like body glowed softly as he spoke. His voice was amplified so everyone could hear. "Welcome to this historic match. Today the Vrexian Empire faces Earth in a game of Dodgeball. The rules are simple. 6 players on each side. 3 balls in play. If you are hit by a ball, you are eliminated. If you catch a ball, the thrower is eliminated and you may bring back 1 teammate. The match is best of 5 games. First team to win 3 games claims victory." The Vrexians and humans took their positions on opposite sides of the arena. 3 rubber balls sat on the center line. Hyun looked at his team and gave them a nod. They were ready. Velmoth raised his glowing tentacle. "Begin!" Both teams rushed forward. The Vrexians reached the balls first because of their longer legs. Commander Threxal grabbed a ball and threw it at Jin with incredible force. The ball moved so fast it made a whistling sound through the air. Jin tried to dodge, but the ball hit him in the chest and sent him flying backward. He landed hard on the floor, gasping for air. The medical team rushed over to check if he was okay. "First elimination, Jin of Earth," Velmoth announced. The crowd cheered for the Vrexians. On the screens the score appeared. Vrexians 6, humans 5. Another Vrexian threw at Sora. She dove to the side, but the ball still clipped her shoulder. She tumbled across the floor and was eliminated. Humans 4, Vrexians 6. The Vrexians were brutal. Their throws were like missiles. When a ball hit the wall behind the humans, it cracked the metal surface. Hana barely dodged a throw that would have broken bones. Wu rolled out of the way of another. Within 3 minutes, all 6 humans were eliminated. The first game was over. Vrexians 1, humans 0. Some aliens in the crowd started to leave. They had seen enough. This was going to be a massacre, just like everyone predicted. There was no point watching the rest, but Ambassador Yuna stood up in the human section and shouted, "Stay and watch! This isn't over." The human team gathered during the break between games. Jin was back on his feet, though his chest hurt. Hana checked everyone for injuries. "They're too strong," Wu said. "We can't take hits like that." "Then we don't get hit," Hyun said. That was just round 1. Now we show them what we practiced. Game 2 began. This time the humans didn't rush for the balls. They let the Vrexians grab them. Then the dodging began. Tae watched Commander Threxal wind up for a throw. He saw the crystal shift, saw the weight change. He knew exactly when the throw was coming and dove to the left. The ball shot past him. Sora moved constantly, never staying in one spot. The Vrexians tried to corner her, but she was too fast. She slid, jumped, and rolled. Her pilot reflexes made her almost impossible to hit. Then Tae made his move. He picked up a ball and threw it with a twisting motion of his whole body. The ball curved through the air in a way the Vrexians had never seen. It spun sideways and hit a Vrexian defender who couldn't adjust to catch it. First Vrexian elimination, Velmuth announced. The crowd gasped. No one had expected that. The other aliens who were leaving stopped and turned back. Maybe this would be interesting after all. The Vrexians were confused. Why was the ball moving like that? How did the humans throw balls that curved and spun in strange directions? Sora caught a Vrexian throw, which eliminated the thrower and brought Jin back into the game. The humans were adapting, learning, moving like water around the Vrexian attacks. Gina watched the Vrexians carefully. She saw the light patterns in their crystal bodies change before they threw. "Hana, left side!" she shouted. Hana dove just as a ball whooshed past where her head had been. The humans started throwing back. Their throws weren't as powerful, but they were accurate and unpredictable. Wu threw a ball that bounced off the floor at an odd angle. Jin threw 2 balls in rapid succession from different angles. The Vrexians couldn't keep up. One by one, Vrexians were eliminated. The rigid structure of their bodies made it hard to catch spinning balls. Their slower reaction time meant they couldn't adjust to the humans' constant movement. When the second game ended, the score was humans 6, Vrexians 4. The crowd exploded with noise. Half were cheering, half were shocked. The screens showed the match score: Vrexians 1, humans 1. Aliens who had left rushed back to their seats. Bets were being changed. This wasn't going the way anyone expected. Commander Threxall stared at the humans with new eyes. These weak mammals had just beaten his team. How was this possible? Hyun looked at his team. They were breathing hard and covered in sweat, but they were smiling. "See," he said, "we can do this. We're humans. We adapt." Games 3 and 4 were fierce battles. The Vrexians stopped underestimating the humans and started playing seriously. They used formations and strategy. They cornered players and used their power to intimidate. Game 3 went to the Vrexians after a hard fight. Game 4 went to the humans. The match was tied. Vrexians 2, humans 2. Everything would be decided in Game 5. Winner takes all. The crowd was on their feet, screaming and cheering. This was the most exciting match in the history of the interspecies games. Both teams looked exhausted as they prepared for the final game. The humans' legs ached from constant movement. The Vrexians were breathing heavily, unused to the sustained effort in standard gravity. Velmuth floated to the center one more time. Final game, begin. The battle was intense. Players were eliminated on both sides. The score kept changing. 4 humans left, 3 Vrexians. Then 3 humans, 3 Vrexians. Then 2 and 2. Finally, only 2 players remained. Captain Hyun and Commander Threxall, the greatest human diplomat against the greatest Vrexian warrior. 2 balls on the floor. The entire galaxy watched. The arena fell completely silent. Thousands of aliens held their breath. The large screens focused on the 2 remaining players. Captain Hyun stood on one side of the court, Commander Threxall on the other. 2 rubber balls lay on the floor between them. One shot would decide everything. Hyun's heart pounded in his chest. His right arm burned from throwing balls for over an hour. His legs felt like rubber. Every muscle in his body screamed for rest. But he couldn't stop now. Not when they were so close. Threxall looked different than at the start of the match. The proud warrior who had laughed at humans now breathed heavily. His crystal body didn't shine as brightly. The standard gravity of the station had been draining his energy for the entire match. His home planet's stronger gravity had made him powerful, but it hadn't prepared him for sustained movement in lighter gravity. The 2 competitors circled each other slowly. Neither wanted to make the first move. Whoever rushed for the balls would be vulnerable. Hyun studied Threxall carefully. He had watched the Vrexian commander throughout the entire match. He had seen how Threxall moved, how he threw, how he thought. Vrexians believed in direct power. They didn't use tricks. They didn't fake or deceive. When they decided to attack, they committed fully. Threxall studied Hyun too. This human was different from what he expected. Humans were supposed to be weak and easy to defeat, but this one had lasted an entire hour against Vrexian warriors. His teammates had eliminated Vrexian fighters with throws that curved and spun impossibly. How did such soft creatures do such things? "You fight well for a mammal," Threxall said. His deep voice echoed in the quiet arena. "You play well for someone who called this a simple game," Hyun replied. Threxall's crystal body flickered with what might have been respect. "I underestimated you. I underestimated all humans. That was a mistake." "Yes, it was," Hyun said. They continued circling. 30 seconds passed. Then 40. The crowd started murmuring. When would someone make a move? Hyun watched Threxal's feet. The commander was tired. His steps were slightly slower than before. The high-gravity training had made him strong, but here in standard gravity all that extra mass was working against him. Every step, every movement required effort. Meanwhile, Hyun's legs were still relatively fresh. Humans were endurance runners. They evolved to chase prey across long distances. An hour of running and dodging was difficult, but humans were built for it. Threxal was built for short bursts of power, not endurance. Threxal made his decision. He rushed forward toward the balls, his crystal body glinting under the arena lights. He was fast despite his size, and his long legs covered the distance quickly. Hyun ran forward too, but he wasn't aiming for the balls. He was aiming for position. He let Threxal grab a ball first, just like in Game 2. Let the Vrexian have the first throw. Threxal grabbed a ball and immediately wound up for a throw. His crystal arm pulled back with tremendous force. Hyun could see the power building, could see the way light refracted through Threxal's body as his muscles tensed. The throw came. It was the fastest throw of the entire match. Powered by every ounce of strength Threxal had left. The ball shot across the arena like a rocket. If it hit, the match was over. But Hyun had been watching Threxal throw for an hour. He knew the patterns. He knew that Vrexians couldn't adjust their throws mid-motion. Their crystal joints locked into position. Once committed, they couldn't change direction. Hyun dropped into a forward roll just as the ball reached him. He felt the wind as it passed over his back, missing him by inches. The ball slammed into the wall behind him with a loud crack. Another dent in the metal. As Hyun came up from his roll, he grabbed the second ball. Now it was his turn. Threxal stood in the center of the court, breathing hard. He had put everything into that throw and missed. Now he had no ball and Hyun had one. The commander's crystal body shifted as he prepared to dodge. Hyun didn't throw immediately. He stood up slowly, ball in hand, and looked at Threxal. He thought about everything that had led to this moment. The insults about humanity. The laughter when he made the challenge. The way everyone assumed humans would lose. This wasn't just about winning a game anymore. This was about proving that humans belonged in the galaxy. This was about showing that strength wasn't everything. This was about respect. Hyun began his throwing motion. He twisted his body using his flexible human spine. His shoulder rotated in ways no Vrexian shoulder could. His arm came forward, and at the last possible moment he put spin on the ball with his wrist. The ball left his hand and curved through the air. It started moving to the left, then curved back to the right. It was the kind of throw that humans had perfected over hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. It was the throw of a species that learned to hunt by bringing down prey from a distance. Threxal saw the ball coming. He moved to catch it, his large crystal hands reaching out. For a moment it looked like he would catch it cleanly, but then the ball's spin made it curve more than he expected. Threxal adjusted, trying to change his hand position, but his crystal joints, so strong and powerful, couldn't move fast enough. The ball touched his hand, bounced off, and fell to the floor. Time seemed to freeze. Velmoth floated forward, his tentacles glowing. Not a clean catch. The ball touched Commander Threxal but was not secured. By the rules of Dodgeball, this counts as an elimination. For 3 long heartbeats, nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Then Velmoth raised his tentacle high. Commander Threxal is eliminated. The winner is Captain Hyun. Game 5 goes to Earth. The final score, Earth 3, Vrexians 2. Earth wins the match. The arena exploded with sound. Half the crowd cheered wildly. The other half sat in shocked silence. The screen showed the final score in huge letters. Some aliens jumped from their seats. Others stared in disbelief. The human team rushed onto the court and mobbed Hyun. They were laughing, crying, and shouting all at once. Tae lifted Hyun onto his shoulders. Sora and Hana hugged each other and jumped up and down. Jin and Wu high-fived so hard their hands hurt. Gina had tears running down her face. Ambassador Yuna stood in the human section with her hands over her mouth. She couldn't believe what she had just witnessed. The humans had actually won. Commander Threxal stood alone in the center of the court. He looked at his hands, at the ball on the floor, at the celebrating humans. For 300 years, Vrexians had been undefeated. Now they had lost to a species that had only been in space for a few generations. The other Vrexian team members came onto the court. They gathered around their commander, silent and stunned. They had trained their entire lives to be warriors. They had won countless battles. But they had lost a game to humans throwing rubber balls. Across the galaxy on thousands of worlds, beings watched the conclusion of the match. The news spread instantly. Earth had defeated the Vrexians. The new species, the ones everyone called weak, had won. The galaxy would never look at humans the same way again. The celebration continued for several minutes. Humans and friendly aliens poured onto the arena floor. Some aliens who had bet against Earth looked angry, but most seemed genuinely excited by what they had witnessed. It had been the most thrilling match in the history of the interspecies games. Hyun finally climbed down from Tai's shoulders. His team surrounded him, all of them exhausted but happier than they had been in months. They had done the impossible. They had proven that humans could compete with anyone in the galaxy. But then Hyun looked across the court and saw Commander Threxall. The Vrexian commander stood with his team, apart from the celebration. His crystal body seemed dimmer somehow, less bright than before. He stood perfectly still, staring at nothing. "Wait here," Hyun told his team. He walked across the arena floor toward the Vrexians. His team watched nervously. Ambassador Yuna called out, "Hyun, be careful." But Hyun kept walking. He had won the match, but he hadn't done this to humiliate the Vrexians. He had done it to earn respect. There was a difference. As Hyun approached, the Vrexian warriors moved to block his path. They were still protective of their commander. But Threxall raised his hand and they stepped aside. Hyun stopped a few feet away from the commander. Up close, Threxall was even more impressive. He stood over 8 feet tall and his crystal body reflected rainbow colors. Even in defeat, he looked like a warrior. "Commander," Hyun said simply. Threxall looked down at the human. For a long moment, he said nothing. The entire arena had gone quiet again, watching this interaction. What would the proud Vrexian commander do? Would he be angry? Would he demand a rematch? Would he refuse to accept the defeat? Then Threxall did something no one expected. He placed his right hand over his heart and bowed his head. It was a Vrexian gesture of deep respect, something they only showed to honored equals. Most aliens had never seen a Vrexian bow to anyone. "Captain Hyun," Threxall said, his voice carrying across the silent arena, "I have been a warrior for 40 years. I have fought in hundreds of battles. I have defeated enemies across a dozen worlds. But today, you and your team taught me something I should have learned long ago." He paused, and when he spoke again, his voice was quieter but no less powerful. "Strength is not only in muscle and armor. Strength is not only in power and size. I called you weak. I called your species soft." "I was wrong," the crowd murmured in surprise. Commander Threxall admitting he was wrong? This was unprecedented. "You do not have our strength," Threxall continued. "You do not have our armor or our size. But you have something else. You have adaptability. You have teamwork. You have the ability to take what you have and use it in ways we never imagined. These are also warrior traits. I failed to see them." Threxall looked at the rest of the human team, then back at Hyun. "Your species evolved to bring down prey from a distance. You learned to work together, to think ahead, to adapt to any situation. You evolved to be survivors. That is a strength I respect." Hyun felt a weight lift from his shoulders. This was what he had hoped for. Not just victory, but understanding. He bowed his head in return, a gesture of respect between equals. "Commander, your team fought with honor," Hyun said. "You are powerful warriors. We were simply fortunate to be playing our game on our terms. In a different contest, the result might be different." "Perhaps," Threxall said. "Or perhaps we Vrexians have been so focused on our own superiority that we stopped learning. You have reminded us that even the strongest can be defeated by those who think differently." The other Vrexian warriors nodded. They were proud beings, but they were also warriors who understood honor. They had lost fairly, and there was no shame in losing to a worthy opponent. Council Arbiter Velmoth floated forward. His jellyfish-like body glowed brighter as he addressed the entire arena. "Today we have witnessed something special. The Vrexian Empire, undefeated for 3 centuries, has been beaten by Earth. But more importantly, we have seen 2 species compete with honor and end with respect. This is what the interspecies games are meant to be." The crowd erupted in cheers. This time, everyone was cheering both for the humans and for the Vrexians. It had been a good match, a fair match, and both sides had shown the best of their species. Threxall extended his large crystal hand to Hyun. Hyun took it, and they shook. The cameras captured the moment, and the image was broadcast across the galaxy. the powerful Vrexian warrior and the human diplomat, shaking hands in respect. "I have a question," Threxall said. "This dodgeball game, why do humans play it?" Hyun smiled. "We play it for fun, for exercise, to teach children about teamwork and sportsmanship. It's not about war or conquest. It's just a game." Threxall's crystal body flickered in a way that might have been amusement. "A game. We treated it like war and we lost. Perhaps that was our second mistake. Would you like to learn to play it properly?" Hyun asked. "Not as a battle, but as a sport?" Threxall considered this. Then he nodded. "Yes, I think we would. Perhaps the Vrexians have focused too much on war, and not enough on games. There may be wisdom in play." The arena crowd loved this. The idea of fierce Vrexian warriors learning to play human games was wonderful. Some aliens were already discussing what other Earth sports might be interesting. As the celebration continued, aliens from many different species came to congratulate the human team. Some wanted to shake their hands. Others wanted to learn about dodgeball. A few even asked if humans would teach them to play. Ambassador Yuna made her way through the crowd to Hyun. She had tears in her eyes, but she was smiling. "You did it," she said. "You actually did it. When you made that challenge 3 days ago, I thought you were crazy, but you proved me wrong." "We proved everyone wrong," Hyun said, looking at his team. "Together." Later that evening, in the human quarters, the team gathered for a quiet celebration. They were too tired for a big party. Their muscles ached, and some of them had bruises from near misses with Vrexian throws, but they were content. "Do you realize what we did today?" Tay said. "We changed how the galaxy sees Earth. They'll never call us weak again." "More importantly," Gina added, "we showed them that there are different kinds of strength. We didn't try to be Vrexians. We were ourselves, and that was enough." Sora raised her cup of water in a toast. "To humanity. We might not be the strongest or the fastest or the most advanced, but we're survivors. We adapt. We overcome. To humanity," they all said together. As they sat together, tired but happy, messages started coming in from Earth. News of the victory had reached home. People across the planet were celebrating. Children were playing dodgeball in the streets. The match had been broadcast live and everyone had watched. Hyun read some of the messages on his tablet. One was from his old academy instructor. "You've made Earth proud, Captain. You showed them what humans can do." Another was from a child. "I want to be like you when I grow up. I'm going to practice throwing every day." Hyun smiled. This was bigger than just a game now. This was inspiration. This was hope. This was proof that humanity belonged among the stars. 3 days after the match, life on Olympus 7 had changed completely. Everywhere Hyun walked, aliens stopped to talk to him. Some wanted to congratulate him. Others wanted to learn about Earth and human culture. A few even asked for autographs, which Hyun found both amusing and embarrassing. The recreation bay, where the human team had practiced, was now constantly full. Aliens from different species came to try playing dodgeball. They threw balls, dodged, and laughed when they got hit. Some were good at it. Others were terrible. But everyone seemed to enjoy trying this strange human game. The team had become celebrities. Tay was teaching physics classes about the science of throwing. Sora gave interviews about human reflexes and pilot training. Jin demonstrated street game techniques to curious aliens. Hana, Wu, and Gina each had their own groups of alien fans who wanted to learn from them. But the biggest change involved the Vrexians. On the morning of the 3rd day, Commander Threxall came to the human quarters. He wasn't wearing his armor this time. Instead, he wore simple athletic clothes similar to what the humans had worn during the match. His crystal body looked different without the armor, less intimidating and more approachable. "Captain Hyun," Threxall said, "you offered to teach us dodgeball. I would like to accept that offer if it still stands." Hyun smiled. "Of course it stands. Come to the recreation bay this afternoon. Bring your team." That afternoon, something remarkable happened. The Vrexian warriors, who had dominated every competition for 300 years, came to learn from humans. They stood in the recreation bay looking uncertain, which was strange to see from such powerful beings. Hyun's team taught them the basics. Not just how to throw and catch, but the philosophy behind the game. Dodgeball wasn't about power. It was about teamwork, strategy, and adaptation. It was about reading your opponents and thinking ahead. At first, the Vrexians struggled. Their rigid bodies made the quick movements difficult. Their instinct was always to use maximum force, which wasn't always the best strategy. But slowly they began to understand. Threxall proved to be a quick learner. When he stopped thinking of dodgeball as combat and started thinking of it as a dance, he improved dramatically. His throws became more controlled. His movements became more fluid, at least as fluid as a crystal body could be. This is harder than actual war, Threxall admitted after an hour of practice. In war, you can use strength to overcome problems. In this game, strength alone doesn't work. That's exactly right, Hyun said. It's a different kind of challenge. Not better or worse than war, just different. After practice, Threxall sat with Hyun and drank water. They talked about their different worlds and cultures. Threxall spoke about the Phyrexian Empire and their long history of conquest. Hyun talked about Earth and humanity's journey to the stars. Your species is only a few generations into space travel, Threxall said. Yet you defeated us. I have been thinking about why. And what conclusion did you reach? Hyun asked. You're not burdened by the weight of past victories, Threxall said. The Phyrexian Empire has been successful for so long that we stopped questioning our methods. We assumed that because we had always won, we would always win. But you humans, you're still learning, still adapting, still finding new ways to solve problems. Hyun nodded. Maybe that's our advantage. We're used to being the underdogs. We're used to having to try harder and think more creatively. Meanwhile, the impact of the match was spreading throughout the galaxy. The Galactic Council received dozens of requests from various species wanting to establish better relationships with Earth. They wanted to learn about human culture, human technology, human ways of thinking. Ambassador Yuna's office was flooded with messages, trade proposals, cultural exchange programs, scientific collaborations. Everyone wanted to work with humans now. The species that had been dismissed as soft mammals just days ago was now one of the most sought-after partners in the galaxy. We're going to need more diplomats, Yuna said to Hyun as they reviewed the requests. And more teachers. Everyone wants to learn about Earth. Is this what you hoped for when you warned me not to make the challenge? Hyun asked with a smile. Yuna laughed. I'll admit I was wrong to doubt you, but next time you decide to challenge an alien race to a game, maybe give me a little more warning. On the 5th day after the match, the Galactic Council held a special ceremony. All the species gathered in the meeting hall. Council Arbiter Velmuth floated at the center, his body glowing with importance. The interspecies games have existed for over 500 years, Velmuth announced. They were created to give different species a way to compete peacefully, to show their strengths without warfare. For too long, these games have been dominated by a single species. The Phyrexian Empire has been a worthy champion, but champions who never face real challenges can become stagnant. Threxall stood with his fellow Phyrexians, listening carefully. Earth has reminded us all of something important, Velmuth continued. Strength comes in many forms. Power is not only in size and force. Intelligence, adaptability, teamwork, these are also strengths. Earth has earned their place in the Galactic Council not through conquest, but through courage and skill. The council members applauded. Even the species that had bet against Earth joined in. Therefore, Velmuth said, Earth is officially recognized as a full member of the Galactic Council with all rights and privileges. Additionally, Dodgeball will be added as an official sport in next year's interspecies games. The human delegation stood and bowed. Hyun felt pride swell in his chest. This was more than he had hoped for. They hadn't just won a game. They had changed humanity's future in the galaxy. After the ceremony, as aliens mingled and talked, Threxall approached Hyun one final time. I wanted to thank you, the Phyrexian commander said. You defeated us, but you did it with honor. You could have humiliated us. Instead, you offered to teach us. That is the action of a true warrior. You're welcome, Hyun said. But I should thank you too. You accepted defeat with grace. You were willing to learn from those you considered beneath you. That takes real strength. Threxall's crystal body flickered with warmth. Perhaps we can be friends, your species and mine. We can learn from each other. I'd like that, Hyun said. As the ceremony ended and beings began to leave, Hyun stood with his team one last time. They looked out at the stars through the station's large windows. Somewhere out there was Earth, their home. The planet that had produced a species of survivors and dreamers. What do you think happens now? Zora asked. Now we go home, Hyun said. We tell everyone what happened here. We show them that humanity has a place among the stars. And then, Jin asked. Hyun smiled. Then we come back. We keep learning, keep exploring, keep proving ourselves. We teach other species our games. We learn their games. We build friendships and partnerships. We show the galaxy that humanity isn't just another species. We're humans and we're going to make a difference. Tay laughed. All because of a dodgeball game. All because we refused to be underestimated, Hana corrected. All because we believed in ourselves. They stood together, looking at the stars, thinking about the future. The galaxy was huge and full of wonders. There would be challenges ahead, certainly. There would be species that didn't like humans, situations where diplomacy failed, problems that couldn't be solved by throwing a ball. But humanity had proven something important. They had proven they could compete. They could adapt. They could overcome. And most importantly, they could do it while staying true to themselves. The team left the window and headed back to their quarters. Tomorrow they would board a ship back to Earth. They would be greeted as heroes. Children would want to hear their stories. Adults would ask for advice. The whole planet would celebrate. But tonight they were just 6 people who had done something impossible. They had represented their entire species in front of the galaxy and won. They had shown that humans, despite being physically weaker than many aliens, had their own unique strengths. As Hyun lay in his bed that night, he thought about a question someone had asked him earlier. What's next for humanity? He had given a diplomatic answer then, but now alone with his thoughts he smiled and whispered the truth to himself. Everything is next for humanity. In the recreation bay, a group of young aliens were still playing dodgeball, laughing as they threw balls and dodged. In the Rexian quarters, warriors were discussing new training methods that focused on flexibility instead of just strength. In the council chambers, species were drafting proposals for human partnerships. One dodgeball game had changed everything, not through force or threats or conquest, but through skill, determination, and the very human refusal to give up. The galaxy would never underestimate humanity again.